That's the one button we always forget to hit, sorry. So welcome. Let me say a quick hello. My name is Karen Stahlberg, and I'm the director of the HILS Online program here in the Department of Learning Health Sciences at the University of Michigan Medical School. I'm also an OBGYN, and so I both clinically practice and also run this program. Let me let my colleague, Angie Sullivan, introduce herself as well, and then we'll get started.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angie Sullivan. I am the HILS Online Program Manager. Welcome, and it's great to have everyone on the call.
Great. So this is a pretty informal session, in case you hadn't figured that out already. We don't ask that you turn your video on or anything, but you're welcome to do so. If you have questions, there'll be time at the end. You can also put questions in the chat. We will be distributing the content from this meeting afterwards, so you don't have to furtively take notes unless, of course, that is your habit, like it is mine, because you might miss some, FOMO, you might miss something. So let me go ahead and get us started. I've got two cameras going. So I'm going to get our slideshow going, I think, and then I'm going to share my screen here. And we should be good. Angie, are we got that?
Yep, looks good.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody as we talk about the HILS online degree program. Sorry, I'm so used to saying HILS. It's the Health Infrastructures and Learning Systems online Master of Science degree here at the University of Michigan. So why is HILS unique? Well, we're pretty proud to say that we're the first grad program of its kind in the nation because we have a joint emphasis on information as well as social sciences to improve the health of individuals and populations. The goal of the HILS program is to develop folks to be a leader and a professional in this new emerging science and system of learning health systems and science. We want to help you create innovative solutions to address some of the most demanding healthcare challenges. And what's really nice about this online degree program is that you have the flexibility to complete the program in 1 year as a full-time student or in 2 to 3 years as a part-time student. The other advantage is that because we're online, you are actually only required to be in Ann Arbor for a few in-person sessions over the course of the degree program. And so you can actually remain in your current work, your current position, your locations, whatever works for you. So we're happy to report that our HILS students hail from all over the United States, and our PhD students are from various countries around the world. Because we are an online degree program, however, we are only able to accept students who are United States residents. And so we aren't yet open to an international degree program yet. So the educational background of the students who engage in HILS is really varied. And as you can see, it's folks who are interested in organizational and policy sciences, folks with computing backgrounds, information backgrounds, behaviorists and behavioral and social scientists. We have engineers, and of course we have health science professionals. This is a picture of our current cohort, our initial cohort that began in fall of 2021. We have, as you will see, a diverse group of I like to say stages and ages of recent college graduates, pharmacists who are using implementation science and human factors for decision support in terms of prescribing. We have a medical director who is building educational systems for clinicians. We have a senior level executive who's a CIO at a large health information network who's looking at national impacts for learning health systems. We have an individual who completed a PharmD degree and continued on in a master's program to think about pharmacogenomics and clinical decision making. And then we have U of M healthcare professionals who are interested in learning health systems writ large and how to improve patient outcomes, how to standardize electronic health records, basically a variety of learners interested in all components of a learning health system. So first things first, what is a learning health system? Well, learning health system uses these learning cycles and health data to address health problems of interest. So a learning community may form around a health problem of interest, such as out-of-hospital cardiac arrest, or a problem like prenatal care delivered during the time of COVID. And as you go around the learning cycle, you use specific techniques, sciences, learning theories, applications to understand how performance can create data. So we think about what's happening in the electronic health record, or how how's prenatal care being delivered currently. We take that data and transform it to knowledge, and then take that knowledge and say, okay, in an implementation space, how can we take that evidence base and move it into an environment where we can make a difference? And so all of the courses in the HILS degree are around this cycle: performance to data, data to knowledge, and knowledge to performance. And so we think about healthcare decisions for data making. So how do we bring together a learning community? What does it look like when we have the data? What are the ethics behind the data? What's the technology or infrastructure for sharing the data? What are the techniques for analyzing it? How can you take that and make tailored messages to help people understand what the data is? How do we promote behavior change? How do we capture that change? And then how do we cycle through once again? So much like the Taubman Health Sciences Library here at the University of Michigan is a library without books, right? It's a virtual space. It's actually a real space, but everything's online. The HILS Online Master's Degree Program is also a real degree from Michigan Medical School that is similar to our residential degree, but completed online. So we have 27 credit hours in addition to sort of a capstone project, which is a learning cycle project. You'll also hear us call it the summer learning project, all the same. What's nice about the degree is that it's asynchronous, meaning you don't show up at a certain time for class, right? We release the content of the modules on a weekly basis with assignments due at specific times during the week, so that you could work all day, possibly, and then do your homework, if you will, after work. There are synchronous options, meaning same time, sort of online with Zoom for class projects, mentoring, working with your other colleagues in the program. But in general, there's no specific time that you show up every Tuesday at 3 o'clock for class. All of our content is delivered through the Canvas learning management system. So many people are familiar with online learning management systems and how information is released. What's nice about that is sort of everything is in one package. You're able to review any challenging lectures or material repeatedly. And you really should expect to spend 8 to 10 hours per week per course. So some courses are going to be really heavy on reading or viewing lectures. Some will require a lot of writing. And so you want to make sure that you factor that into your prep and your study time. When you go on to the Canvas site, all of the courses basically look like this, right? We've got a course structure where we welcome you into the Canvas site, and you will have instructional videos, video overviews of the modules, reading assignments, class discussions, quizzes, papers, essays, group assignments. There's supplemental material there as well. So there may be online videos or other podcasts or something that are relevant to the course material, but not required. And then grading, of course, is going to vary by course. Some use standard, rubrics, all will use standard rubrics, but some might have multiple choice questions. Some may be group projects, some may be written assignments, that kind of thing. The HILS online degree, this is one of the founding creators of the residential degree program and sales. And we really just want to emphasize that this is a true Master's of Science degree from the Michigan Medical School. And so it is a lot of work and a lot of reward. So when we talk about a learning cycle project, you will have a summer project that basically looks at all of the components of the learning cycle loop. So in the fall term, when you matriculate, we make sure that you get meetings with your advisor, think about what's the project I want to do, how do I want to think about things. In the winter term, we work on refining your project, preparing for your summer project, thinking about IRB requirements. And then in the spring summer course, you enroll in Learning Health Systems 622, which is a learning cycle capstone course that you do concomitantly with the project. And we have a separate place where as you're running your project, we also have places and spaces to reflect on your experiences. So I want to show you an example of a learning cycle project that one of our students did. Rama Munesi is one of our PhD candidates, but as his summer learning project, Rama actually works in the operating rooms here at Michigan Medicine. He is one of the managers. And what he wanted to look at is, why are there retained surgical instruments, RSI, meaning like we should never be leaving behind surgical instruments. And so what are the factors that go into these reporting events, as well as retained surgical instruments, right? Because that's the big goal. So his goal at the center of the cycle is to say, we need to decrease retained surgical instruments. Like this should be a never event. And so why is it happening? And so what he did was he looked at what's the potential risk, what are the actual things, how are we recording it? He found that the data quality wasn't that great. People weren't recording when it was happening. And so he spent his summer project trying to understand what are the barriers to reporting. So lack of feedback, time pressures, uncertain policies, the reporting forms in the computer system may not be usable. And so he was able to do all of that in 8 weeks. And you can see that when you have that type of information, then moving forward to implement changes in the system, you can really make a big difference without a lot of work necessarily or reconfiguring structures. Catherine Irwin, who is a graduate of the HILS program, looked at sort of provided this testimonial, if you will, about why the Learning Cycle project had so much value for her, because it really was able to take the core curriculum and apply it in a real world setting. And so that's why we have it as a capstone, so that as you graduate from the degree program, you actually have real world skills that can be quickly applied to wherever your personal environment is. So let me go over for sort of what does this look like? What does it mean, right? What is the course sequence? If you were to do a 1-year plan, our fall term here at the University of Michigan starts basically the end of August and goes into December. Winter term starts the beginning of January and goes into late April. And then spring summer goes from May to August. And so if you were to do all 27 credits in a 1-year plan, then you would take 4 courses in the fall, each of them 3 credits. So if you think, boy, each class is 8 to 10 hours per week of work, that's pretty much a full-time job, right? We think about your summer project. We bring you onto campus for orientation. We have 4 more courses in the winter term and another institute, and then the spring summer course, as well as an on-campus institute. Currently, I teach the 622 course, so we're all working together in the summer. If we got to bring you in for the summer, then I'll be there with you. If we did a 2-year plan, then you could take 2 credits per term and kind of spread things out over about 18 months. That seems to be working really well for individuals who are working full-time and also participating in the degree program. The sequence of the courses, other than the spring summer 622, is variable, so you don't have to necessarily track through taking one set of courses at a time. Recall, however, from the Wayback Machine when you were in school, certain classes are only offered in certain semesters. So a great picture here, this in the center, there is Gretchen Pyatt, who is the graduate chair for the HILS program. Rama is to her right, and some of our early cohort and PhD students are pictured in this image. Wanted to go through the courses for you since the last images only had course numbers. But we think about courses around health infrastructures and policy that include ethics. We also have courses in implementation science. We have courses in data science. So thinking about how do you do exploratory data analysis? How do we represent knowledge and data to others? We also have a learning informatics course. So you will learn R when you're in this program, which for good or bad, right? But you will leave with data science skills. And we also teach research methods as well. That's an image of Dr. Chuck Friedman, who's the chair of the department and really a leader in the concepts of learning health systems. And this was from our recent orientation this fall. More pictures from our gathering together this past August. Grace, who is a PharmD student, said that she chose HILS even after she completed her PharmD because she really wants to be a part of the future of medicine and think about implementation science and how that applies to pharmacogenomics. This is a picture of our on-campus institute where we actually bring all the HILS family together. So this is faculty, HILS PhD students, HILS residential students, and HILS online learners to reinforce the current coursework. Actually, that's a picture of orientation. When we're in the institutes, it's just us as online learners, but also faculty as well. We spend about 2 to 3 days together with active learning sessions, applying information from courses to the learning cycle and again, making the information you're learning kind of come to life. We have one-on-one mentoring that's scheduled with your mentor. And of course, we love to socialize around here. So we make sure that we have a dinner for program faculty, residential students, basically to bring the community together. So the goal of the HILS program really is to create leaders and provide skill sets so that you can improve quality and safety, as well as promote learning within a health system. And basically, for the master's degree program, we're thinking about you as an improvement and implementation leader when you leave the program. In terms of careers, things are kind of wide open, right? This is a new field, a new degree program, but the options are varied, right? You could be a health system innovator. You could be a quality improvement expert. You could already have lots of data and informatics experience, and now you're applying it to the healthcare sector and thinking about how to use data to improve care. Pretty much the sky's the limit. I know that sounds crazy, but because this is such a new space, there's actually so much to do. In terms of our graduates, we have folks who are working as data architects in health systems. We have 2 graduates who have become management consultants and are entrepreneurs and have started their own company. We have folks who are clinical research coordinators, like I talked about, data analysts, folks who've gone on to be clinical lecturers. We've got research associates, and be careful because actually we've sucked people in to continue their education and continue on as PhD candidates. So this is where I hand it over to Angie. So I am going to mute myself and turn off my camera and let Angie take over.
All right, thank you, Dr. Selberg. So I'm going to cover a few of the student services side of things. So to begin with advising. So students are paired with a faculty advisor who will have live office hours. Typically those are going to be via Zoom. You can contact them via email. And I did want to note that you're going to be taught and mentored by the same faculty who teach in the residential program. So for example pictured here is Dr. Rachel Richardson at our HILS online orientation session this past August. And she's a professor in her department and conducts research on the quality and usability of data from electronic health records. And here she is advising one of the new HILS Online learners who has an interest in learning health systems to improve patient outcomes. And you'll also have easy access to me as a program manager through email, individual group Zoom meetings, Slack, the HILS Online community page, and Canvas. So there's a variety of ways that you can get in contact with me and Dr. Stahlberg. And then the one thing I did want to point out is that even though this is an online program, you'll be supported by real people such as myself, Dr. Stahlberg, and other faculty, as we truly want to give you the full learning experience as a Michigan student and ensure that you become part of the community. So being a student in our HILS Online program, you'll have access to an abundant variety of student support services across campus. So such as the Rackham Graduate School, and they have student communities, students with children, students with disabilities, LGBTQ plus students, health and well-being resources. Then there's the Office of Graduate Postdoctoral Studies, and that overlaps somewhat with what Rackham offers for resources such as health and wellness, diversity, equity, and inclusion resources. And you'll also have access to other university resources such as counseling and psychological services, Taubman Health Sciences Library, in addition to all other libraries on campus. There's a Students of Color of Rackham, and these are just a few of those resources. So as I mentioned, there's an abundant variety of student support services for our online students. So the tuition information, this is based on the 2021-2022 academic year. So please note that tuition and fees often change each year. So again, these are based on this year. So typically a student is going to take between 6 to 12 hours. So 6 hours being part-time, and then 9 hours or more is considered full-time. So for example, if you're a part-time Michigan resident, tuition is $7,301. And if you're a non-resident taking 6 hours, which is part-time, it's $10,331. So for full-time, 9 hours, tuition is $10,859 for Michigan residents. It's $15,404 for a non-resident. Then for each additional hour after that, it's $1,186 for a Michigan resident, and then $1,691 per credit hour for a non-resident. Then there's also mandatory fees assessed each term. So you'll see here like a registration fee, central student government fee, for a total of around $164. And we wanted to break it down for you even further. So if you were to complete the program in 1 year, this is what it would look like. So as a Michigan resident, that first semester fall term is $14,417. It's the same for the second term, winter, $14,417. And that spring summer term is going to be $3,743. And you'll need to add in those fees. And this is going to give you an estimated total of around $32,577. So then as a non-Michigan resident, that fall semester is $20,477. The winter semester, $20,477, and then the spring summer term is $5,258. Add in those fees. This is going to give you an estimated total of around $46,212. And again, that's based on 2021-2022 data, and is subject to change. And then some additional expenses, technology needs that you will want to consider. Study materials, usual things like textbooks, notebooks. The good thing is many of our textbooks are offered online for free on the library or other resources. Then you'll obviously want high-speed internet service, computer equipment and software, and this is what's recommended university-wide: a webcam, RAM of 4 gigabytes, microphones, headphones, compatible browser. And then additional expenses will be travel expenses, like Dr. Stahlberg mentioned. So you will be required to attend the in-person orientation in the institute sessions. And application requirements, we require a bachelor's degree with 1 statistics class, personal and academic statement of purpose, a resume, CV, transcripts. You'll also need 3 letters of recommendation. And for these letters, you'll want to choose people who know you well and those that can provide an evaluation of your ability to perform and succeed at a graduate level. And often that might include a manager or supervisor from school or work. And at least one letter should be submitted from a past or current professor or academic advisor, or someone who has supervised you in a job or an internship. And please note that we no longer require the GRE. So I'll review some tips for your statements, starting with the academic statement. So this is where you'll want to discuss your primary research area of interest. You'll want to reach out to potential advisors, 2 to 3 HILS faculty, to introduce yourself and discuss the potential fit to a program. And you'll want to do this before completing your academic statement of purpose. And you can read about each of our faculty on their website and choose those that perhaps are doing research or teach in an area of interest to you. So in this statement, you'll want to explain why you identify the potential advisors you did and the interactions you had with them. In addition, you'll want to describe your understanding of learning health systems, what interests you about them, and describe any prior research experiences, courses, or projects that have prepared you for graduate study. And all this information is covered on the actual application, so you don't need to remember it right now. And then your personal statement, this is different than your academic statement. And this is where you get the opportunity to explain how your background and life experiences, other opportunities or challenges, what's motivated your decision to pursue a graduate degree at the University of Michigan. So this should be more of a discussion of your journey that has led you to your decision to seek a graduate degree. So you want to make sure that you do not repeat your academic statement of purpose here. And we have some resources on learning health systems that can help you with your applications that I'll send you in an email after the session, in addition to all the other information that we discussed today. To begin with, we have a couple of journal articles. The first one here is Development of the Learning Health System Research Core Competencies. And this discusses how the core competencies for learning health systems were developed. Next, a journal article written by the chair of the department, Dr. Chuck Friedman, and Josh Rubin, who's a program officer in a department. And that is Weaving Together a Healthcare Improvement Tapestry, Learning Health System brings together health IT data stakeholders to share knowledge and improve health. So be sure to check that one out. In addition, a website link to the Learning Health Systems Open Access Journal. And this is an open access journal that is freely available to read and download. And last is the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality Learning Health Systems website, AHRQ. And this is an agency that funds LHS researchers. And you can go there to learn about different types of research that's being funded by the agency. So again, I will send you all of these resources later on tomorrow. And some application tips. So be sure to proofread your statement carefully, ask a friend, a mentor, a colleague, and just pay special attention to those typographical errors, grammar, punctuation, and overall clarity. So how to apply. So since we're a Rackham program, you'll apply through the Rackham Graduate School website and you will complete their online application. On the site, you can upload materials in addition to sending them to us if you need to. We have 2 deadlines. First is February 1, which is already passed. And all applicants who applied by that deadline were eligible for priority scholarships. And those scholarships are merit-based and candidates are reviewed holistically by the admissions committee. And then the next one is June 1, which is the final deadline to apply. So the application timeline, we aim to notify applicants 6 to 8 weeks after the receipt of the application. So get those in early. And transfer credits, we get a lot of questions about transfer credit. At this time, we're not allowing credits to be transferred. However, if you've taken a course that is equivalent to a required course for the program, we may be able to review options for substitute electives or other options. And this is our contact information along with our website, and you can find a lot of information on the website. And in addition, feel free to reach out to Dr. Stahlberg or myself at any time with questions. So at this time, we'd like to thank you and open it up for questions.
Wonderful. Right, we managed the stop share. True story.
Yes,
Excellent. Like I said, too many screens.
it's so hard to tell.
It really is. So, no question's a bad question. No question's a silly question. Please feel free to either open your mic or, just put it in the chat.
Hi, my name is Michael Schliga. Thank you so much. This was a very wonderful presentation. So thank you so much for the information you provided. I just have a random question for you. I live right now in the state of Delaware, and having missed the February 1st deadline for priority scholarships because out-of-state tuition is higher than in-state tuition. Does that mean that there's no scholarships available going into the June 1st deadline? Or are people still in consideration for scholarships? Because that would factor into when I would apply.
Yeah, that is an excellent question. I will say that in some ways it depends, right? So there were some deadlines through Rackham that we needed to hit in February. And that's why we have those scholarship deadlines the beginning part of February. We also have a lot of information about where people might be able to attain funds. Sometimes if people are working, their employer may want to help in that regard as well. We do review things holistically. And so once we have a cohort identified, there may be opportunities to help support folks in that cohort. So that's kind of why I have to say it depends, if that makes sense. So we would
I
want to
appreciate that answer. Yeah.
Yeah. So we will wait until we see what's awesome, until we see what the cohort entails, sort of probably early July, right? So we'll plan on everybody will get their stuff in June 1. We're going to review probably mid-June. We'll be able to send out those acceptances and then see who accepts and go from there.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for turning your camera on. It's always nice to see who you're talking to.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was having some issues with my webcam earlier. But yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Hi, I have a question.
Please.
In terms of the people that go on for the PhD program, do you have to be on site for that portion of it? Because that's something that I might be interested in pursuing. I am in a program at Harvard right now with Chuck Friedman, so he recommended this. But one of the things I would be interested in is going further with a PhD, but I wouldn't be able to be on site since I'm in Boston. So how does that work?
Yeah, great question. So the truth of the matter is that the vast majority of courses that you take through the master's program are very similar or close to the same for the PhD program. And what I would do is maybe, Angie, we could get some information, connect you with the PhD program and see how that works. All truth, right? Like this is our first cohort that we've started for the HILS program.
Yeah.
And so you would be joining the second cohort in the fall. And so what's great is we are figuring out all of these new things that people might be interested in.
Right.
It could be that people take the master's and then apply to the PhD program and continue on and don't necessarily have to come, to Ann Arbor per se, or only come in
periodically.
Periodically.
Yeah.
I don't want to make any promises because I'm not in charge of the PhD program.
Right.
But that is something we can definitely address and then, get some better answers and we can send that out. Angie, what do you think about that? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds great. I took your name down and we will get something out to you here shortly.
Great. Thank you very much.
Of course. Yeah.
I would love if you sent that to me as well.
Sounds good. Yeah. And that's what's nice is we did in the design of the program, think about So let me back up, rewind. The design of the program was designed residentially to start with, right?
Mhm.
And so the course content for PhD and master's students was designed holistically. And then what we did was we actually took out the master's courses and created the online degree program. So they should interdigitate well. It's just a question of logistics, right? It's always logistics. So.
Do you find that people that are in this program have had a lot of experience with creating learning health systems already, or are they fairly new to the whole concept in general?
Yeah, I would say people are fairly new because not a lot of folks understand what a learning health system is, right?
Yeah.
There are individuals who are working in areas where, you know, they're the service provider for the electronic health record for a number of, you know, federally qualified healthcare systems. And so thinking about how to, as a complex organization, how do we bring all of that together? How do we train, right? Again, there's a variety of folks. Like the incoming cohort will have a couple of individuals who are physicians and who are responsible for some networks in their areas. They're trying to make their system a learning health system. We have folks in that cohort who also work with in the pharmaceutical industry. So what's really great is it's such a big variety, and like the concept of learning health systems can be it's so transferable, right? It can be a microcosm, it could be sort of a middle level, a bigger level. There are folks who focus only on certain components of the learning health cycle as they move into their degree program, like into their PhD areas.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We came to this through medical education, right? So that's, you're like, how did an OBGYN get into this? But the Department of Learning Health Sciences emerged from the Department of Medical Education. And so thinking about how do we educate and build a workforce, right? This is really about workforce development as well as scientists in learning health systems. So I too was a chronologically advanced graduate student. So as Rackham likes to call us, I actually 10 years after I finished my OB-GYN training, went and got a master's in higher education. And so that's how this all kind of came together. But
there's a lot of information out there and lots of publications on how to do this stuff, but there's not a lot of actual training out there to like train people on how to do it. So, you know, we did some of this stuff in the program already. So I have a basic, and I'm doing a lot of this at work already, but I'm trying to figure out if I can get a more in-depth understanding as we build larger learning health systems where I am. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, so it's sort of parallel. As a medical educator who was teaching and doing all of these things, when I decided to go back for a degree program, I could have gotten a master's in medical education, but I was sort of already doing things. What I really wanted was the theory and science in education. And that's kind of how I view this degree, which is a lot of us are doing the work in a learning health system, not kind of understanding why or understanding the science or the theories or the principles behind it, or we may not have enough information about the techniques or right? Like you don't have to be a computer programmer, but boy, if you could talk to the folks who run your EHR system and be able to speak a similar language about infrastructure and how you manage that has value.
I come from the computer science side. I have a master's in computer science. But one of the things that I struggle with, and I've been in the clinical world for 20 years, so I also on the clinical side, but being able to sell the concept of learning health systems to leadership so that you get buy-in is really where the struggle is. You know, people ask me every day, what is a learning health system? What is this all about? So I think that's where I'm struggling a bit. I can read all day long,
exactly.
Trying to, you know.
Yeah, well, and that's where the implementation science really comes in, right? Like we've all been at the receiving end of new programs or new processes that, you know, get started and then just die on the vine, right? And so implementation science is really a new science, if you will, starting in public health about like, how do we bridge that gap between all of this evidence-based data comes out and
Right.
evidence-based information, how do we like get that back into our systems?
And then follow it so that we know it's actually
Exactly.
working. I know.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
get it.
preaching to the choir. I love it. Thanks,
Yep.
Sarah. Yeah,
This is what I do all day long. Yes, no.
right? Yeah. Bang head here.
Mhm. Yep.
Kind of thing. Absolutely.
Very good.
Yeah. Any other questions? Hi, Michael.
I just want to, as a personal comment, I was actually looking at this as a PhD program for a very long time, and I wasn't able, like, oh, am I able to get out there to Michigan and everything like that? So I really appreciate this format and being able to do this on a digital platform as an online master. So I just want to thank you for putting this together.
Oh, you're very welcome. Angie and I are smiling because it is a labor of love. It's a lot of work, different pedagogies, getting all the faculty who are also teaching in person to develop things online. And so we're very open to feedback and process improvement. And our current students have really helped us kind of craft and improve. In fact, I'm actually going this afternoon to do some of the lectures for 622. It's just in time production. So, yeah. And that's what's nice is, the other thing is that and this is where I get rah-rah, it's a Michigan degree, right? Like, this is not sort of a watered down version of our master's program. This is not, we pay people to teach this like court, right? Like, we make all the stuff and then somebody else is a TA who teaches it. You're really part of the HILS program, and it's the real people teaching. So Chuck Friedman teaches 660 in the fall. So it's
How does that
not
work in terms of building camaraderie with the students if a lot of it is asynchronous? Because I know in the program I'm doing now, we do have lectures that are in person, well, not in person because of COVID, but over Zoom. And then some of them are asynchronous. And so we're a fairly large cohort of 90 people, which makes it really hard to get to know people. And I think if we were in person, it would have been a lot better. But with the asynchronous format, do people actually really get to know each other well, or?
Yeah, so we do things to try to foster that. I will tell you that the 7 learners in our first cohort have their own like back channel on Discord where they connect with one another. That's why we built in the institutes, right, to bring people on campus 3 times over the course of things. We have in-person we have Zoom office hours so that people can come with questions. We have gotten feedback from our learners that like, boy, in that orientation, if we did a team building exercise, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm not into trust falls necessarily, but I think we can figure out how to do a better thing, right? I think we can also, right, there's like the nuts and bolts of how does the program work, and then there's also the how do we connect with one another.
Sure.
And so we're very committed to doing that. If you can't tell, I'm like a hopeless extrovert. And so I own it. I just lean into it. And so I'm very much about trying to figure out how we get people connected.
Very good.
Yeah. Other questions? I want to make sure that other individuals who are here, either you can put it in line, in the chat. Feel free to open your mic without turning your camera on if you want. We've got a few more minutes where we can answer some questions. This is that teacher training where you learn to wait and sit in the silence. You're most welcome, Nuri. We will make sure that we distribute, the video and the additional information. Obviously, it should go without saying, but I just want to say it out loud that if you have questions, you can reach out to Angie or myself or both of us. Angie, did you want to add anything?
No, just what you said. I'll get that information, all those resources, the PowerPoint, the recording out to everyone, probably by tomorrow. And I did want to just say, Michael's comment was really great, because that is the whole reason we created this online, is so we can, get it to students across the country, and you can stay in your, home state and reap the benefits of the program. So we appreciate that comment.
Mhm. All right, well, I am going to call it, but Angie and I will kind of stay on just in case there's others who want to ask questions without a whole audience. We will stop the recording though, so that you don't